Now, this week it was reported that warehouses were full of food parcels while thousands of South Africans went hungry. Gemma Ritchie of the amaBhungane Centre for Investigative Journalism wrote that a bungled tender by the South African Social Security Agency, SASSA, left service providers confused. This was before COVID-19 hit South Africa. The report suggested that red tape led to a delay in SASSA appointing service providers to distribute food parcels and food vouchers for those in distress for months. To discuss, we're joined by the CEO of SASSA, Busisiwe Memela. Ms. Memela, thank you for being with us. Firstly, is it true that SASSA delivered no food parcels, as this report suggests, between November last year and March this year, even though, of course, those food parcels always desperately needed?
It's important to clarify that each time we have to distribute food parcels, it's always because we have money. As in instances where we've run out of budget, like it was the case from November last year up till March, we had to wait for us to get a new budget in the new year. But the other important thing to clarify is the fact that the process that we use to provide food, we're not the only ones that provide food, but the process that we use is actually legislated in terms of what we can or cannot do. And in this particular instance, we didn't leave people hungry because we chose to. It was actually the people, in terms of the investigation done by amaBhungane, the claim is that we left people hungry when warehouses were full of food. The claim actually comes from a previous service provider who claims that he went, after a tender had actually finished, went and filled his storage with food without a particular tender. We had to follow due process in terms of issuing a tender beyond 2019. It's not a fault that the person did there.
So the claim is that the service provider thought, well, maybe that contract would be extended because there was no new service provider, and that SASSA was responsible for some confusion around the food parcels, leading to confusion among the service providers. Can you respond to that?
Well, you can't say we created confusion if you go as a service provider and fill your warehouse with food when you know we don't have money and you haven't been given a contract for you to provide food. We actually had to go through a quotation process, which was a process that we used, which was a due supply chain process. We couldn't not follow due process.
Yeah.
The fact that they assumed that they would automatically be chosen because they already had a contract from the previous year, we cannot be blamed for that.
Also, can you clarify, because the report suggests that the tender was bungled. It said there was a technical hitch. The service providers were told to extend the validity of their bids. Some didn't read the emails. Then Treasury said, okay, some have been unfairly prejudiced by that, and that would be SASSA's fault. You're now saying there's no budget. The budget ran out. That's why there were no food parcels. What exactly happened?
We didn't provide food parcels for the month of December to March because we had run out of budget. In terms of the claim that the tender was bungled.
Ms. Memela, sorry if you heard some interference there. We've fixed that. Please carry on. Okay.
So we started a due process for us to give a tender. And during that process, before we completed the process, there was a technical process that was not agreed upon, and when we asked for an extension, National Treasury then said what we needed to do was to actually start the due process from scratch. So that is what actually happened, but it's not because we bungled. It's because we're going through a process of allocating a tender, and because we didn't complete. At that time, National Treasury said we should start from scratch.
Yeah. The fact that the budget ran out, I mean, is that poor planning on SASSA's part?
No, we always get X amount in terms of the budget, and we can only utilize what we have. When the budget is finished in terms of SRD, we can't continue to use money that we don't have.
Yeah.
For example, last year we had about 447. It was basically out of sheer need that the money ran out quicker than than before the 12 months. So it's normal when the money has run out, if we can't get money from other grant types, it therefore means that we can't continue to provide the vouchers and the food parcel.
And should it not be planned that less is spent every month, but at least people who are used to getting food parcels don't suddenly sit without them for a period of 4 months?
One wouldn't argue that people are used to getting food parcels because there's in terms of for our process, because there's a specific process that we use. We normally would provide non-financial support, and we also provide vouchers in instances whereby people are in a crisis, but only when we have money. We would allocate the money to each and every region to make sure that there's equal distribution for each and every region. But we don't provide what we don't have, because tomorrow then we'll be blamed by the AG for us having spent money that we don't have.
Ms. Memela, finally, the report suggests that government agencies and Solidarity Fund, a whole lot of people stepped in when COVID-19 hit. And the journalist said that wouldn't have been necessary if SASSA could have just intensified food parcel delivery, suggesting that the red tape around this old tender actually affected delivery after COVID-19. Can you respond to that?
No, we actually did get quotations from a number of suppliers. And just for the month of April and May, we actually distributed 90,000 food parcels. And for the 6 months, we have now distributed in 6 months more than what we normally would distribute over a year. So it's not factual.
All right. Thank you very much for your time tonight. That was the CEO of SASSA, Busisiwe Memela. Now, many South Africans are in the dark.